Summer is our narrator, and it is now November, so it's after Halloween, so we'll see what is happening. The next day at school, I told Savannah I had eaten some really bad Halloween candy and gotten sick, which is why I went home early from her party, and she believed me. There was actually a stomach bug going around, so it was a good lie. I also told her that I had a crush on someone else that wasn't Julian, so she would leave me alone about that, and hopefully spread the word to Julian that I wasn't interested. She, of course, wanted to know who I had a crush on, and I told her it was a secret. August was absent the day after Halloween, and when he came back, I could tell something was up with him. He was acting so weird at lunch. He barely said a word and kept looking down at his food when I talked to him. Like, he wouldn't even look me in the eye. Finally, I was like, Augie, is everything okay? Are you mad at me or something? No, he said. Sorry you weren't feeling well on Halloween. I kept looking for Boba Fett in the hallways. Yeah, I was sick. Did you have that stomach bug? Yeah, I guess. He opened a book and started to read, which was kind of rude.
How are you not dead?
Oh, mute your mics, guys. Lamar, mute your mic. There you go, buddy. Okay. I'm so excited about the Egyptian Museum project, I told him. Aren't you? He shook his head, his mouth full of food. I actually looked away because between the way he was chewing, which almost seemed like he was being gross on purpose, and the way his eyes were just kind of closed down, I was getting a really bad vibe from him. What project did you get? I asked. He shrugged, pulled out a little scrap of paper from his jeans pocket, and flicked it across the table to me. Everyone in the grade got assigned an Egyptian artifact to work on for Egyptian Museum Day, which was in December. The teachers wrote all of the assignments down on tiny scraps of paper, which they put into a fishbowl, and then all us kids in the grade took turns picking the papers out of the fishbowl in the assembly. So I unfolded Augie's little slip of paper. Oh, cool, I said, maybe a little overexcited because I was trying to get him psyched up. You got the step pyramid of Saqqara. I know, he said. I got Anubis, the god of the afterlife. The one with the dog head? It's actually a jackal head, I corrected him. Hey, you want to start working on our projects together after school? You could come over to my house. He put his sandwich down and leaned back in his chair. I can't even describe the look he was giving me. You know, Summer, he said, you don't have to do this. What are you talking about? You don't have to be friends with me. I know Mr. Tushman talked to you. I have no idea what you're talking about. You don't have to pretend is all I'm saying. I know Mr. Tushman talked to some kids before school started and told them they had to be friends with me. He did not talk to me, August. Yeah, he did. No, he did not. Yeah, he did. No, he didn't. I swear on my life. I put my hands up in the air so he could see that I wasn't crossing my fingers. He immediately looked down at my feet, so I shook off my Uggs so he could see my toes weren't even crossed. You're wearing tights, he said accusingly. You can see my toes are flat, I yelled. Okay, you don't have to scream. I just don't like being accused of things, okay? Okay, I'm sorry. You should be. But he really didn't talk to you? Augie! Okay, I'm really sorry. I would have stayed mad at him longer, but then he told me about something bad that had happened to him on Halloween, and I couldn't stay mad at him anymore. Basically, he heard Jack bad-mouthing him and saying really horrible things behind his back. It kind of explained his attitude, and now I knew why he'd been out sick. Promise you won't tell anyone, he said. I won't, I nodded. Promise you won't ever be mean like that to me again? I promise, he said, and we pinky swore. Next chapters. Warning, this kid is rated R. I had warned Mom about August's face. I had described what he looked like. I did this because I know she's not always so good at faking her feelings, and August was coming over for the first time today. I even sent her a text at work to remind her about it. But I could tell from the expression on her face when she came home after work that I had not prepared her enough. She was shocked when she came through the door and saw his face for the first time. Hi, Mom, this is Augie. Can he stay for dinner? I asked quickly. It took a second for my question to even register. Hi, Augie, she said. Of course, sweetheart, if it's okay with Augie's mother. While Augie called his mother on his cell phone, I whispered to Mom, stop making that weirded out face. She had that look like when she's watching the news and some horrific event has happened. She nodded quickly like she hadn't realized she was making a face and was really nice and normal to Augie afterwards. After a while, Augie and I got tired of working on our projects and went to hang out in the living room. Augie was looking at the pictures on the mantle and he saw a picture of me and Daddy. Is that your dad, he said. Yeah? I didn't know you were, wait, what's the word? Biracial. Right, that's the word. Yeah, he looked at the picture again. Are your parents divorced? I've never seen him at drop-off or anything. Oh no, I said. He was a platoon sergeant. He died a few years ago. Whoa, I didn't know that. Yeah, I nodded, handing him a picture of my dad in his uniform. Wow, look at all those medals. Yeah, he was pretty awesome. Wow, Summer, I'm really sorry. Yeah, it stinks. I miss him a lot. Wow, he nodded, handing me back the picture. Have you ever known anyone who died? I asked. Just my grandmother, and I don't really even remember her. That's too bad. If you guys remember from when we read about Via, their grandmother was like the most important person in her world. So just shows you how different Augie and Via are. You ever wonder what happens to people when they die? I asked. He shrugged. Not really. I mean, I guess they go to heaven. That's where my grands went. I think about it a lot, I said. I think when people die, their souls go to heaven, but just for a little while. Like that's where they see their old friends and stuff and kind of catch up on old times. But then I actually think that the souls start thinking about whatever their lives on earth, like if they were good or bad or whatever, and then they get born again as brand new babies. Yeah?
I gotta go.
Okay, bye, Blake.
But one more thing.
Sure.
So all that do is a social study, just 3 things, like yesterday.
So look in the Schoology Wednesday folder, Blake, okay? And then that, you know that sheet that you had printed out earlier? So the reading, the social studies, and then the math. Those are the 3 main things, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
I'm almost done with all of them. So.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Ava, do you have a question?
I have a question.
Hold on.
What's a platoon sergeant?
So that's a good question. A platoon sergeant is somebody in the Army. So a sergeant is somebody who is in charge of other people. And I think, I'm not exactly positive, I think a platoon is like a group of people.
Some kind of large.
My son's giving me a definition right now. Come here, E. What's a platoon?
I think it's some kind of like large army
Let me
group.
see.
Okay. Large
It's
army
a
group.
subdivision of a company of
Okay.
soldiers. Usually
So it's
forming
a
as
platoon
tactical units.
sergeant is somebody who's like in charge of other people in the Army.
Platoons are commanded by
Okay.
lieutenants.
Alex, what's your question?
I thought a large group of a army would be like a battalion or a division.
You know what? That's a good question. You guys will have to look that up and see what the difference is between a battalion.
A platoon
I think
what?
a battalion's bigger.
So Eli thinks a battalion's
Mom,
bigger.
It's a platoon
Yeah,
what?
that makes sense. That makes sense.
Okay.
A platoon sergeant?
Sergeant, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna keep going, guys, okay? All right, so
That's not
Summer's explaining what she thinks when people die. And then I actually think the souls start thinking about their lives on earth, like if they were good or bad or whatever. And then they get born again as brand new babies in the world. Why would they want to do that? Because then they get another chance to do it right, I answered. Their souls get to have a do-over. He thought about what I was saying and then he nodded. Kind of like when you get a makeup test, he said. Right. But they don't come back looking the same, he said. I mean, they look completely different when they come back, right? Oh, yeah, I said. Your soul stays the same, but everything else is different. I like that, he said, nodding a lot. I really like that, Summer. That means in my next life, I won't be stuck with this face. He pointed to his face when he said that, and then he batted his eyes, which made me laugh. I guess not, I shrugged. Hey, I might even be handsome, he said, smiling. That would be so awesome, wouldn't it? I could come back and be this good-looking dude and be super buff and super tall. I laughed again. He was such a good sport about himself. That's one of the things I like most about Augie. Hey, Augie, can I ask you a question? Yeah, he said like he knew exactly what I wanted to ask. I hesitated. I've been wanting to ask him this for a while, but I've always lost the guts to ask. What? He said. You want to know what's wrong with my face? Yeah, I guess, if it's okay for me to ask that. He shrugged. I was so relieved he didn't seem mad or sad. Yeah, it's no big deal, he said casually. The main thing is that I have this thing called mandibulofacial diastosis, which took me forever to learn how to pronounce, by the way. But I also have this other syndrome thing that I can't pronounce. And these things just kind of morph together into one big super thing, which is so rare, they don't even have a name for it. I mean, I don't want to brag or anything, but I'm actually considered something of a medical wonder, you know. He smiled. That was a joke, he said. You can laugh. I smiled and shook my head. You're funny, Augie. Yes, I am, he said proudly. I am cool beans. Okay, the next chapter is called The Egyptian Tomb. Over the next month, August and I hung out a lot after school, either at his house or my house. August's parents even invited Mom and me over for dinner a couple times. I overheard them talking about fixing Mom up on a blind date with August's Uncle Ben. On the day of the Egyptian Museum exhibit, we were all really excited and kind of giddy. It had snowed the day before. Not as much as it had snowed over the Thanksgiving break, but still, snow is snow. The gym was turned into a giant museum with everyone's Egyptian artifact displayed on a table with a little caption card explaining what the thing was. Most of the artifacts were really great, but I have to say, I really think mine and August were the best. My sculpture of Anubis looked pretty real, and I even used real gold paint on it. And Augie had made his step pyramid out of sugar cubes. It was 2 feet high and 2 feet long, and he had spray painted the cubes with this fake sand paint or something. It looked so awesome. We all dressed up in Egyptian costumes. Some of the kids were Indiana Jones type archaeologists, and some dressed up like pharaohs. August and I dressed up like mummies. Our faces were covered except 2 little holes in the eyes and 1 little hole for the mouth. When the parents showed up, they all lined up in the hallway in front of the gym. Then we were told that we could go get our parents, and each kid got to take his or her parent on a flashlight tour through the dark gym. August and I took our moms around together. We stopped at each exhibit, explaining what it was, talking in whispers, and answering questions. Since it was dark, we used our flashlights to illuminate the artifacts while we were talking. Sometimes, for dramatic effect, we would hold the flashlights under our chins while we were explaining something in detail. It was so much fun hearing all these whispers in the dark, seeing all the light zigzagging around the dark room. At one point, I went over to get a drink at the water fountain. I had to take the mummy wrap off my face. "Hey, Summer," said Jack Will, who came over to talk to me. He was dressed like the man from the mummy. "Cool costume." "Thanks. Is the other mummy August?" "Yeah." Hey, do you know why August is mad at me?" "Uh-huh," I nodded. "Can you tell me?" "Nope." He nodded. He seemed bummed. I told him I wouldn't tell you, I explained. "It's so weird," he said. "I have no idea why he's mad at me all of a sudden. None. Can you at least give me a hint?" I looked over to where August was across the room, talking to our moms. I wasn't about to break my solid oath that I wouldn't tell anyone what he had overheard at Halloween, but I felt kind of bad for Jack. "Bleeding scream," I whispered in his ear, and then walked away. All right, we are now at part 4, and look who our narrator is, Jack. So let me see how long the first chapter is. Okay, I'm going to read the first chapter of Jack narrating, and then we're going to be done for the day. So Jack Will is now telling his side of the story. The first chapter is called The Call. So in August, my parents got this call from Mr.
Guys?
Who's that? Ben, do you need something, buddy?
No.
No? Okay. So in August, my parents got this call from Mr. Tushman, the middle school director. And my mom said, maybe he calls all the new students to welcome them. And my dad said, that's a lot of kids he'd be calling. So my mom called him back, and I could hear her talking to Mr. Tushman on the phone. This is exactly what she said. "Oh, hi, Mr. Tushman. This is Amanda Will returning your call." Pause. "Oh, thank you. That's so nice of you to say. He really is looking forward to it." Pause. "Yes." Pause. "Yeah." Another pause. "Oh, sure." Long pause. "Oh, uh-huh." Pause. "Well, that's so nice of you to say." Pause. "Sure. Oh, wow. Oh." Then a super long pause. "I see. Of course. I'm sure he will. Let me write it down." "Got it. I'll call you after I've had a chance to talk to him, okay?" Pause. No, thank you for thinking of him. Bye-bye." And when she hung up, I was like, "What's up? What did he say?" And Mom said, "Well, it's actually very flattering, but kind of sad too. You see, there's this boy who's starting middle school this year, and he's never been to a real school environment before because he was homeschooled. So Mr. Tushman talked to some of the lower school teachers to find out who they thought were some of the really, really great kids coming into 5th grade. And the teachers must have told them you were an especially nice kid, which I already knew, of course. And so Mr. Tushman is wondering if he could count on you to sort of shepherd this new boy around a bit. Like, let me hang out with him, I said. "Exactly," said Mom. "He called it being a welcome buddy." "But why me?" "I told you, your teachers told Mr. Tushman that you were the kind of kid who's known for being a good egg. I mean, I'm so proud that they think so highly of you." "Why is it sad?" "What do you mean?" "You said it was kind of flattering, but kind of sad too." "Oh," Mom nodded. "Well, apparently this boy has some sort of, I guess there's something wrong with his face or something like that. I'm not sure. Maybe he was in an accident. Mr. Tushman said he'd explain it a bit more when you come to school next week." "But school doesn't even start till September." "He wants you to meet this kid before school starts." "Do I have to?" Mom looked a bit surprised. "Well, no, of course not," she said. "But that would be the nice thing to do, Jack." "If I don't have to do it," I said, "I don't want to do it." "Can you at least think about it?" "I'm thinking about it, and I don't want to do it." "Well, I'm not going to force you," she said, "but at least think about it some more, okay? I'm not calling Mr. Tushman back until tomorrow, so just sit with it a bit. I mean, Jack, I really don't think it's that much to ask that you spend a little extra time with some new kid. It's not just that he's a new kid, Mom, I answered. He's deformed. That's a terrible thing to say, Jack. He is, Mom. You don't even know who it is. Yeah, I do, I said, because I knew the second she started talking about him that it was that kid named August. Okay, we are going to stop there for today. We will read some more tomorrow. I see some more hands up, so let me just take a couple more questions. George, what's your question, buddy?